Hello and good evening, everybody, and this is going to be episode 30 of Album Rant, and I cannot believe we have made it all the way to episode 30, and I have got to be completely honest, we have made it there because of you guys. Just recently, in the past couple of weeks, I have gotten 2 more subscribers, and I could not be more grateful. So, shout out to you guys. You all are what makes this possible. But anyways, for this episode of Album Rant tonight, which is Friday, November 17th, 2023, 6:52 p.m., I want to dive right back into the world of Queen, and I would like to look at their first live album entitled Live Killers, released in 1979 on the Jazz Tour, from what I understand. But just to sort of let you know how we got here, they originated in the early 70s, and they had a very consistent lineup all the way till lead singer Freddie Mercury's death. They were composed of lead singer or lead vocalist and pianist Freddie Mercury, lead guitarist, occasional lead vocalist Brian May, bass guitarist John Deacon, and drummer and occasional lead vocalist Roger Taylor. And they released their very first album in 1973, appropriately entitled Queen. And I love it. It's one of my favorite records ever. It had hits such as Keep Yourself Alive, Liar, Doing All Right, The Great Rat King, Jesus. All great songs, and there was definitely a very hard edge to it. And I have got to give a lot of credit to Brian May. He is one of my favorite guitarists ever. And this was definite hard rock, which was definitely borderlining on heavy metal. I'm not sure if you would actually call it heavy metal, but it's definitely a close call, and I would definitely put them right up there with Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Led Zeppelin as some of the founding members of heavy metal. But then they followed it up the following year with their second studio recording, and appropriately entitled Queen 2. And some of my favorite songs from that album include Seven Seas of Rye, Father to Son, Someday, One Day, and Loser in the End. And something that was very interesting about Queen 2 is the way they structured it was the first side of the record included the songs that were written by Roger Taylor and Brian May. And they did not really deviate very far from the traditional hard rock sound. And that is definitely the sound that I mostly prefer. And it was really, really awesome. The second side included the songs that were written by Freddie, and he was starting to delve into various genres and more diverse genres. And there is nothing wrong with that, but he was really kind of gearing towards prog rock. And prog rock can be really, really good, or sometimes it can kind of fall flat on its face. But on Queen 2, at least, I think he pulled it off very, very well. And Queen 2 is one of my favorite records ever as well. But then we come to their third record, which is entitled Sheer Heart Attack, which does not include the song Sheer Heart Attack. I'll get to that later. But Sheer Heart Attack I also really, really love. It included Brighton Rock, Now I'm Here, and Stone Cold Crazy, some of my favorite Queen tracks of all time. And while it did include some of my favorite Queen songs ever, I gotta admit, they were definitely moving more in the prog rock direction, and especially Freddie's songs, they were definitely starting to sound more like an opera. Not really my thing. I know he's really great at what he does, but I just don't fully get behind what he's doing. But still, Sheer Heart Attack was a great album. But then we come to the fourth album entitled A Night at the Opera. And I would say it's very similar to Sheer Heart Attack, as in some of the songs primarily written by Brian May didn't stray too far from the traditional hard rock sound of those first two albums, but definitely Freddie's numbers were still kind of gearing towards the operatic genre, but still, they had some of my favorite songs on there as well, such as Death on Two Legs and the Prophet's Song. But then we came to 1976's A Day at the Races, which is considered to be kind of sort of a sequel to A Night at the Opera, and I think they definitely kind of went too far in that direction, especially Freddie's songs. They were now starting to delve more into gospel music, which really didn't sit too well with me. But it does include one of my favorite Queen songs ever, which is Tie Your Mother Down, and I will be talking about that in just a second. But after A Day in the Races, it seems they kind of went back towards the sound that made them famous in the first place, which was straight ahead hard rock. Sure, we had some more softer numbers, a few ballads on there, but the next two albums were entitled News of the World and Jazz, and I really enjoyed both of them. But anyways, after that, they finally decided that it was time to release a live album. And that brings me to the subject of tonight's review, Live Killers, released in 1979. And through my recap, I'm sure that you kind of noticed that Queen is a very individualistic band. Kind of like Styx or Kiss. They don't collaborate very often on songs. They often kind of do it sort of like Freddie will write some stuff, and Brian will write some stuff, and Roger will write some stuff, and John will write some stuff, and they'll all kind of get behind it. And I definitely respect that because it makes the albums very diverse. It gives each song kind of its own feel to it, and it's not like artists like Boston where every single song sounds the same, and that kind of does get on my nerves a bit. But anyways, let's go ahead and see what we have in this thing. So there's the cover. Nice little gatefold right here, and you can see that we have some pictures of the band throughout the tour, and very nice. But then coming over here, if I can zoom in a little bit, we have the track list. Now, something about this is a double live album. So it's made of 2 records. Each record has 2 sides to it, so we have a total of 4 sides. But it kicks off with We Will Rock You, the fast version. And I did a song tournament on Queen, and one thing that I noted was that We Will Rock You has a really killer, no pun intended, guitar solo at the end. I don't really like the build-up, the whole just stomping and clapping part, but that guitar solo really hooked me. My problem was it was too short. But this version, I really think, rectifies it. In this version, the entire band is playing the entire time. And they have that really raw, metallic feel to it. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I think this version of We Will Rock You is better than the studio version. Okay? It's got the entire band playing throughout the entire thing, and it's live. It's got a very raw, metallic sound to it, like I just said, and I think it's really awesome. But then we come to Let Me Entertain You, which is originally from the Jazz album, which is the album they were touring for this live release. But Let Me Entertain You is great, okay? Because let me entertain you, let me entertain you. Love it. It definitely is one of the Queen songs, one of the harder edge Queen songs that definitely kind of straddles the line between rock and heavy metal. But again, the production on this live album I really like. It is not overly produced, and I think that really gives this song a more aggressive punch to it. Now we're going to come to Death on Two Legs, which is apparently written about a falling out the band had with their producer at the time. I may be wrong about this one, but it's off the Night at the Opera album. It is the very first song off the Night at the Opera. And it was written by Freddie Mercury, and I guess I've not made this very subtle. I've been very vocal about this, but most of Freddie's songs don't really sit that well with me, or at least not as well as maybe Roger and Brian's songs. But I really, really do love Death on Two Legs. And viewer warning, I am about to say some words that I don't commonly say on this channel. So if you're listening to this and you get easily offended, you might want to kind of skip forward about a minute or so, so viewer warning right there. But at the very beginning of this song, Freddie is talking to the audience and something is beeped out. And apparently, from what I understand, is he said, this song is dedicated to a gentleman of a motherfucker. And he is talking about the subject of the song's content, which is, again, the falling out they had with their producer or their manager, maybe somebody, I'm not too sure. But Death on Two Legs is a great song. Starts out with a nice little keyboard intro, but the guitars start kicking in very, very quickly. And it starts building up and building up and building up. But then it softens for a little bit and Freddie starts singing. But then it kicks up again and it just keeps building and building. And I love Death on Two Legs. Death on Two Legs is one of my all-time favorite Queen songs. And I cannot recommend it enough. Now, the next couple of songs are actually shortened versions in comparison to the studio releases. We have Killer Queen, which is one of those songs that definitely dives into genres that are not hard rock, and it sounds a lot like vaudeville music, and I never really quite like this one, but it's kind of chopped down a bit, and it only lasts about 1:59 seconds, so that's good. Then we have Bicycle Race. And I'm going to be honest, I have never really liked Bicycle Race. Okay? I know it's kind of fun to sing, bicycle, bicycle, I want to ride my bicycle. But again, it's short. They don't play the whole thing. It's only 1:29 seconds. Then we come to I'm in Love with My Car, which I think is the one song on here that Roger Taylor sings. And I really do kind of like that one. It's off A Night at the Opera, and it's definitely one of the harder edged ones, and it's kind of slow, but at the same time, it's got a very, very aggressive, hard edge feel to it, and I really do dig I'm in Love with My Car. But just like before, they kind of shortened it a bit, and they only play 2 minutes and 1 second of it, and I do kind of wish they played the whole thing, but, you know, I guess sometimes you have to take what you can get. I mean, that's a very definite lesson in life. I mean, if you can't get the whole thing, sometimes just part of the whole thing is what you have to settle for, so there's that. But I'm in Love with My Car is a great Queen song, and I do recommend it. Then we Get Down, Make Love. And this is a song off of News of the World, and Freddie sings this one, and it's kind of bluesy. It's got a definite blues feel to it, and it's led by the bass guitar by John Deacon, and I do not hate this one at all. I don't. It's just not quite my favorite. Again, if it had more of a punch to it, some more guitar work on it, I probably would like it more, but Freddie is the one who kind of wrote the softer songs, while it seems to me that Brian and Roger wrote more of the harder edge rock songs. But Get Down, Make Love is not a bad song, and I do think it's worth a listen. It's just not quite my favorite. But then the side closes with You're My Best Friend, which is a Queen classic. Written by John Deacon, but unfortunately this version is once again shortened a bit. It's down to about 2 minutes and 7 seconds, so you don't quite get the full picture here, but I do think the studio version is better. The studio version, I think, just, has more of a punch to it, and I do enjoy it more. partially because they actually play the whole thing in the studio version, but still, it's worth a listen, and again, they just play a clip of it, but I do still really enjoy it. But that right there was side one, and if I had to pick a favorite from side one, and by the way, when I pick my favorites in this video, I am referring to the live versions. The versions off of this record, not the studio versions. So in this case, it has definitely let me entertain you, okay? We Will Rock You and Death on Two Legs and I'm in Love with My Car are definite legitimate runners-up, but I'm going to give this round to Let Me Entertain You. Now we're going to move to side number two, and let me try to get that in focus. There we go. Side two includes 5 songs. Now I'm Here, Dreamer's Ball, Love of My Life, 39, and Keep Yourself Alive. And it kicks off with Now I'm Here, and Now I'm Here is an absolute anthem. I have never actually seen these guys in concert. I mean, I obviously could not see them when they had Freddie because he died when I was 6. But I do understand they have a new lead vocalist, and the last set list I saw for Queen, they did kick it off with Now I'm Here, and it's great. It's very fast. It's got some great guitar work. It is definitely one of the harder edge songs they've done. I'm not sure if I would call it heavy metal, but I would definitely call it hard rock, and it is a definite recommendation. Definitely check out Now I'm Here. It is in my top 10 for all Queen songs of all time. Now, this version is expanded a little bit, and it goes all the way out to 8 minutes. Yeah, some of these songs have been shortened, some of these songs have been expanded, but Now I'm Here has been expanded. And I really wish that the extra stuff that we got was maybe guitar solos or drum solos or bass solos, but instead it's Freddie getting on stage and being the quote-unquote front man, which I think is such a stupid term. But he's kind of chanting at the audience and trying to get them to yell back and everything. And I don't really care to hear that or anything, so the additional content and Now I'm Here isn't really quite worth it. If they had chopped that all out and edited it down to about 5 minutes or so, I really think it would have been better, but still, we get to hear it, and the live version is still really, really good. Dreamer's Ball is originally off of Jazz. It is one of the softer songs, and I don't really care for it. It's more of a piano ballad, and it's usually one that I skip over. Same thing with Love of My Life. Love of My Life is another piano ballad from A Night at the Opera, and it's another song that was written by Freddie, and of course, he's going to kind of highlight his own personal strengths and everything, but I'm not sure if Love of My Life is quite what I look for when I pick up a Queen record. But then we have 39, and something very interesting about 39, it is off A Night at the Opera, and on the studio version, Brian actually sings it, while Freddie sings the live version. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe Brian just wasn't feeling well that night, or maybe he was shy about singing in concert. I don't know. If you know the actual reason, feel free to enlighten me. But 39 kind of delves into folk music of all things. And like I said, they definitely kind of cross over in other genres. Sometimes it doesn't really work. Sometimes it does. And I think this one really does kind of work. There's something about it that I really, really like. And I think I would recommend hearing 39, or at least checking it out or something. I think it's got a really great rhythm to it, and no matter who's singing it, Freddie or Brian, I think they do a really good job. But then side one ends with Keep Yourself Alive, which is the very first song off their very first album, all the way back in 1973. It's great. It's fast. It's got some great heavy guitar work to it, great rhythm, and everybody is on point. In the middle section, I'm pretty sure that Roger Taylor and Brian May sing a tiny little snippet of it, but Freddie sings the majority of it, and yeah, one of my favorite Queen songs ever. But in all honesty, if I have to look at this objectively, or I guess subjectively would be the appropriate term, Now I'm Here is my favorite from side 2. It's my favorite from the studio version, and again, despite that little interlude that I didn't really care for, everything about it is really Queen at their absolute best. So Now I'm Here is my favorite from side 2. Now we're gonna come to side 3, and there are only 3 songs on this one. But it kicks off with Don't Stop Me Now. And no, Don't Stop Me Now is one of their big radio hits. And to be honest, this was incorporated into an episode of American Dad one time, and it was absolutely hilarious. You gotta see the episode. It would take me way too long to explain the context, but it was really, really good. And the live version is even better than the studio version. The studio version was lacking some guitar on it. It seemed to be mostly driven by the bass guitar. The live version is very much led by the lead guitar by Brian May, and I really, really enjoy it. Spread Your Wings is from the News of the World album. It is a ballad. I am pretty sure it is written by Freddie, and when Queen does ballads, most of the time they don't really sit that well with me. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, like I said, but this is far from the greatest Queen song. So I am gonna probably say Spread Your Wings is one of the weaker songs on here. But we then come to the side closer, Brighton Rock. And I did a song tournament, like I said, on Queen a few weeks ago, actually a few months ago. But Brighton Rock is absolutely amazing. Kicks off with some nice little guitar solos, and it starts building up, and it is fast. Everybody is on point. Freddie does a great job on the vocals. Roger and John are just killing it. But definitely the star of this song is without a doubt Brian May. And they really show off his talents in this one. This one runs for over 12 minutes. And the reason it runs so long, it has got a great guitar interlude in the middle. He goes on for like 6 minutes or so. I'm not even really sure, but it's something like that. And it is absolutely awesome. Brighton Rock is definitely one of the harder edge Queen songs, and again, it definitely straddles the line between hard rock and heavy metal. If you think it's heavy metal, I support that. If you don't think it's heavy metal, I support that. But what I do know for a fact is that Brighton Rock absolutely rocks, and it is my favorite song from side number 3. And I did not even have to think about that one. I love the studio version. I love the live version even more. And something that I really, really appreciate about this live album is that if we're just going by bulk time, as in time on the entire album, Brighton Rock takes up a huge, huge chunk of it, and that is something that I really, really enjoy. Like I said, they dive into different genres, but I can say this, at least on side 3, the bulk of side 3 is Brighton Rock, which is hard rock at its very best. Now we come to side 4, and we have that song. You Knew It Was Coming. I knew it was coming. They started off with a little snippet of the song Mustafa, which is off the Jazz album, and I think that's all I want to say about that one. But after that, we come to what may very well be my favorite Queen song ever, Tie Your Mother Down. This is the one song off their 5th album, A Day at the Races, that I really, really love. And I think this may very well be my favorite Queen song ever. It's got kind of a bluesy rhythm to it, but it's hard edge. Brian is absolutely nailing it. He's got some great solos in there, and this is another one that probably could be considered heavy metal. I love Tie Your Mother Down. And it goes, tie your mother down, and give me all your love tonight. I know I completely butchered that, and I'm sorry if I offended your hearing or anything, but I just had to get that out. The live version's even better. I love the production on this album. Apparently, Roger and Brian did not care for the way this thing was mixed. I have no problem with it. I actually really like it. And Tie Your Mother Down goes very, very well on this album. But then we have Sheer Heart Attack, which is not off the Sheer Heart Attack album. It's off of the News of the World album. Yeah, you do the math on that one. This one is another one of their harder edge songs, and I would definitely consider this heavy metal. But if you disagree with me, fine, I get it. But it is fast. It is aggressive. It was written by Roger Taylor, but Freddie sings this one, and I love everything about it. My only problem is, at least the studio version was way too short. In fact, the live version is only 3 minutes and 36 seconds. Still way too short. And sometimes I'm just like, guys, you had me, and then you just stop. The song just kind of stops, like, I'm not going to say mid-sentence, but the band just sort of cuts off, it seems. And I'm just like, why didn't you just jam for a little while longer? I love what you were doing, but still, sometimes you got to take what you can get. But then we have the two songs that always seem to go together. We have another version of We Will Rock You. This one is a little bit more like the studio version. It has the stomping and the clapping, and of course it still has the guitar solo, but I'm going to be honest, the version that kicked off this entire album, I think I do like better. And then, every fan of the Mighty Ducks, or every kid back in the early 90s knew this one. We're the champions, my friend. I've never really liked it. I'm just going to be honest, I've never really cared for this one. I realize that it's very, very iconic, and I respect that and everything. I realize it made Queen very, very famous, and if that's what it takes so we can hear the rest of their really great music, awesome. But We Are the Champions has never been my favorite song. I will say this. There was an episode of South Park one time where they were spoofing the Mighty Ducks, and they played We Are the Champions during a very, very messed up scene. And I gotta admit, I did get a legitimate laugh out of that. But, yeah, so there's that. And then it ends with a cover of God Save the Queen, which closes out the Night at the Opera album. And, you know, it's pretty much just the band winding down, doing one last farewell to the audience before they go backstage and pack it up for the night. But my favorite from side 2 is definitely Tie Your Mother Down. My favorite Queen song ever, even the studio version, and it's only improved by the live version. So as I said, when this first came out, it got some surprisingly negative reviews. I'm not quite sure why, but like I said, a lot of people didn't really care for the sound mixing on this one, but I like it. It's got, like I said, a very raw feel to it, and for that, I definitely really do recommend Queen Live Killers, and I think you really do need to check it out. Anyways, thank you for joining me on episode 30 of Album Rant. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you and an absolute privilege to talk to you. Next week, I'm going to do what it takes to bring you another song tournament, but until then, have a very pleasant evening.